Okay, so today we're diving into a gaming legend, really.
Yeah.
Kratos from the God of War series.
Yeah.
Um, you've shared a really interesting review of all the games, and we're going to kind of unpack what makes this series tick,
Yeah.
why it resonates with so many people.
Right.
The God of War universe is pretty expansive, though.
Yeah.
You know, it's got like two main sagas going on.
Mhm.
You've got the original trilogy grounded in Greek mythology,
Right.
and then the more recent games set in Norse myths.
Yeah. Two distinct eras,
Yeah,
both pushing the boundaries of storytelling in video games.
totally.
Yeah.
Now, the review really highlights Kratos' transformation
Yeah.
over the series.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, he was this brutal Spartan warrior driven by rage and vengeance, just tearing through the Greek pantheon.
Right.
Very visceral combat, epic boss fights,
Right.
kind of a classic revenge story, you know?
Those early games.
Yeah.
I think what's so fascinating about those is that they capture the essence of raw power. So the blades of chaos,
Yeah.
which are Kratos's, signature weapons,
Yeah.
they weren't just tools. They were a visual representation of his fury,
Yeah.
of his need for revenge.
You really felt that power
Totally.
in every move.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Norse saga takes a dramatic turn.
It does.
Kratos is older now.
Right.
He's burdened by his past.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to navigate fatherhood with Atreus.
Yeah, that shift in his character, I
Yeah.
think, is key, wouldn't you say?
I think
It opens the door for a more nuanced exploration of his personality.
Absolutely.
He's not just a vengeful god anymore.
Yeah.
He's a man grappling with his inner demons,
Yeah.
trying to break free from that cycle of violence.
I love how they humanized him in the Norse saga,
Mm-hmm.
but I sometimes wonder if that initial rage-filled persona
Yeah.
in the Greek games might have been a little limiting,
Uh-huh.
in terms of exploring his character more deeply.
Okay.
Do you think that single-minded focus on vengeance held him back in a way?
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I think while his rage was definitely captivating
Yeah.
and drove the narrative,
Uh-huh.
in the Greek saga, it did overshadow other facets of his personality.
Yeah.
The Norse saga really allowed for a
Yeah.
more multidimensional Kratos,
Yeah.
someone capable of introspection and growth.
Right. And the gameplay evolves,
Oh,
too.
totally.
It's
Yeah.
not just about the relentless fury
Exactly.
of the Blades of Chaos anymore.
It's not. It's with the Leviathan axe, you see a shift towards a more strategic, deliberate combat style.
Okay.
It's about precision,
Mm.
utilizing the environment,
Right.
mirroring Kratos' own development from
Yeah.
impulsive rage to controlled action.
Yeah, it's almost like the axe
Yeah.
symbolizes a more mature Kratos.
It does.
You know?
Absolutely.
And I found that transition
Yeah.
in gameplay really engaging.
Mhm.
It added a new layer of depth to the combat.
For sure. And I think that's one of the key strengths. Yeah.
Of the God of War series is this way that it seamlessly blends mythology
Uh-huh.
and personal storytelling.
Yeah.
The relationship between Kratos and Atreus
Right.
in the Norse saga, for instance,
Mhm.
is a powerful exploration of fatherhood and legacy
Yeah.
set against this grand backdrop of Norse mythology.
Speaking of which, the review really dives into
Yeah.
the series' narrative depth.
Mm-hmm.
It's evident that the writers went beyond just slapping some mythology onto a game.
Yeah.
They truly wove those ancient tales
For sure.
into something deeply personal and relatable.
Yeah.
And that father-son dynamic between Kratos and Atreus was
yeah.
a perfect example. It's
Mhm.
not just this heartwarming bond.
Yeah.
It's a clash of personalities.
Yeah.
It's a struggle between past and future.
Kratos, haunted by his actions, desperately tries to protect
Yeah.
Atreus from repeating his mistakes.
Mhm.
And at the same time, Atreus, brimming with this youthful curiosity,
Yeah.
naturally pushes back against his father's.
Overprotective nature.
Yeah.
And that dynamic plays out beautifully
Totally.
throughout their journey, wouldn't you say?
It does. And they're forced to confront all these complex emotions
Yeah.
while navigating a world steeped in myth and legend.
Right?
I mean, the environments themselves are incredible.
They are.
The review praises the series
Yeah.
for its stunning world building
Mm-hmm.
and visual design.
Absolutely.
From the majesty of Mount Olympus to the haunting beauty of Midgard,
Yeah.
these landscapes are truly breathtaking.
And they're not just window dressing either.
Oh, yeah.
They are meticulously crafted to immerse you
Yeah.
in their respective mythologies.
Mhm.
Every location has a story to tell,
Right.
a history that feels tangible and real.
Yeah.
You're not just playing the game, you're living and breathing it.
Totally. And those environments are incredible.
Yeah.
What really struck me, though, was how those locations
Right.
enhance the narrative.
Yeah.
The review specifically points to the Norse saga's exploration of themes like family and loss and self-discovery.
Yeah.
And it felt like the world itself reflected those themes.
Yeah, that's a great observation. I think Norse mythology is already rich with tales of family and betrayal and fate. So it's not just a random setting. It's almost like the mythology itself becomes a character providing this incredibly layered backdrop for Kratos and Atreus' journey.
Exactly. So how does the game actually weave those deeper themes into the gameplay and story? Is it purely through dialogue?
Dialogue plays a huge part, especially in that father-son relationship. You know, it's this constant push and pull dynamic, mirroring the kind of struggles I think many families face. You have Kratos scarred by his past, desperately trying to keep Atreus shielded from violence. But Atreus, you know, eager to prove himself, understand his powers, often charges headlong into danger.
It's like they're each battling their own internal demons while also trying to figure each other out.
Yeah, and those individual battles even manifest in their combat styles.
Oh, interesting.
Kratos' approach is much more deliberate controlled. He's constantly holding back, reflecting his efforts to contain that rage. We talked about Atreus with his archery and runic attacks has a more impulsive, almost reckless style, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like their fighting styles are extensions of their personalities. It's more than just button mashing. It reflects their inner struggles.
That's a great way to put it. And as they journey together, overcoming obstacles, facing down threats, their bond evolves. They learn to rely on each other. Their fighting styles complementing one another.
And through their trials, they also come face to face with those larger Norse myths, right?
They do.
They're not just fighting random enemies. They're encountering figures who represent these different aspects of family and fate and destiny.
Exactly. Take Baldur, for example. The antagonist in God of War 2018. He's this tragic figure, cursed by his mother to be invulnerable, unable to feel anything.
So he can't be hurt. But he also can't experience joy or connection.
Exactly.
That's a heavy price to pay.
It is a heavy price to pay. And his conflict with Kratos isn't just this good versus evil showdown. It becomes a powerful exploration of how trauma shapes us, how it can affect our relationships and destinies. It's almost like two different approaches to fatherhood and family clashing.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. And there are other figures like Freya, who is fiercely protective of her son, but also deeply wounded by betrayal.
Absolutely.
She adds another dimension to those themes of motherhood and those complex bonds between parent and child.
For sure. And it's not just through the characters. The game utilizes environmental storytelling brilliantly too, wouldn't you say? The world of Midgard isn't just visually stunning. It's filled with these remnants of past battles, prophecies, echoes of choices made by others.
As you explore, you're piecing together the history of that world, how it came to be.
Exactly.
And it all connects back to those core themes, family and loss and the choices we make.
You're constantly uncovering these layers of myth and history that feed into the present narrative. Ultimately, I think the game pushes us as players to confront those themes in our own lives, to consider our relationships, our past, our own journeys of growth.
It's true. It makes you think.
Yeah.
That's what elevates it beyond just a typical action experience.
For sure.
And speaking of which, the combat system.
Yes.
The review consistently praises the combat in the series.
He does.
But particularly how each weapon has a distinct feel.
Yeah.
And how the fighting style evolves.
Right.
As Kratos does.
For good reason. I mean, whether it's the chaotic fury of those iconic blades of chaos or the more measured strategic use of the Leviathan axe, the combat is always incredibly satisfying.
And what's impressive is how the combat mirrors Kratos' own journey.
Precisely. I mean, in the Greek saga, it's all about aggression, spectacle, chaining combos, releasing that pent-up fury.
It's almost like a dance of brutality, wouldn't you say?
That's a perfect way to describe it. But in the Norse saga, things become much more grounded. The Leviathan Axe encourages a different approach.
Yeah.
Thinking tactically exploiting weaknesses,
Right.
using the environment to your advantage. It reflects Kratos' attempts to control that rage, to channel it in a more focused way.
I definitely felt that shift. You can't just mindlessly button mash your way through encounters anymore.
You can't.
Yeah, it requires more thought, more strategy.
And the game rewards you for it.
Yeah.
It's challenging, but it's incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
When you master the combat system.
And we can't forget the variety of enemies you face.
Oh, the enemies.
From lumbering trolls to those quick, deadly drag.
Each one requires a different approach, right?
Right. It keeps you on your toes.
Absolutely. You have to adapt, learn their patterns, exploit their weaknesses.
Yeah.
It's not a one-size-fits-all combat system.
And then there are those epic boss battles.
The boss battles?
Oh, man.
Oh, they're unforgettable.
The colossal Hydra from the first God of War.
Yeah.
The Valkyries in the 2018 game.
Each one feels like a culmination of everything you've learned.
They're truly tests of skill and endurance.
They are.
Forcing you to master every aspect of the combat system.
But what sets these battles apart is how they're woven into the narrative.
Right. It's not just mindless fighting.
It's not.
Every battle has a story.
It does.
Whether it's Kratos confronting his past or facing the consequences of his actions.
The combat is always meaningful,
Yeah.
connected to those larger themes we discussed. It's a perfect example of how the God of War series blends action and storytelling so seamlessly.
And speaking of seamless blends,
let's
not forget about those incredible visuals.
Oh, the visuals.
We touched on the environments earlier, but I feel like we need to dedicate some time to how breathtaking they really are.
Absolutely. The God of War series is renowned for its visual spectacle and world building.
From the towering peaks of Mount Olympus to the haunting beauty of Midgard.
It's incredible.
These environments are stunning achievements.
They are.
In game design.
For sure.
It's not just about creating pretty landscapes, though.
No, it's not.
The game crafts these worlds that feel lived in, imbued with history and mythology. I mean, the level of detail is astounding.
It is.
You can practically feel the wind whipping through the trees.
Right.
In the forests of Midgard.
Yeah.
Or hear the echoes of ancient battles in the ruins of Greece.
The environments aren't passive backdrops. They're active participants in the storytelling.
Yeah.
Shaping the mood and atmosphere of the experience.
So how do the games use environments to enhance the narrative specifically?
Right.
Are there any standout examples?
Well, think about the opening hours of God of War 2018.
Okay.
You start in this quiet, snow-covered forest.
Yeah.
A stark contrast to the fiery chaos of Kratos' past.
It sets the tone immediately.
It does.
It's somber, almost introspective. It feels like a deliberate choice.
It is.
To emphasize that change in Kratos.
Exactly. And as you progress, the environments become more diverse and fantastical, mirroring Kratos' journey of self-discovery.
You go from the lush forests of Elfheim to the fiery depths of Muspelheim.
Yes.
Each realm offering a unique visual experience and challenges.
And the transitions between those realms are incredibly well done.
Yeah, they are.
It feels like you're traveling through a living, breathing mythology.
It does. And it's not just the grand vistas.
Right.
The smaller details are amazing, too.
The detail.
Those intricate carvings on temple walls, the way light filters through the trees.
They create this incredible sense of immersion.
Yeah.
You're not just observing the world. You're inhabiting it.
And those details often hint at the history and mythology of the world.
Right.
It encourages you to explore.
Yes.
To uncover those hidden stories.
It's a testament to the developer's passion and their incredible attention to detail. They've created worlds that are not only visually stunning, but also deeply meaningful and narratively rich.
Speaking of rich,
we'd
be remiss not to mention the soundtrack.
The soundtrack.
The review praises it throughout.
It does, calling it epic.
And they're right. What's an epic adventure?
Without an epic soundtrack.
The music in God of War elevates the entire experience.
It does. It's so much more than just background music. It's an integral part of the storytelling. From those bombastic orchestral scores of the Greek saga to the more atmospheric, melancholic melodies of the Norse games.
Right.
The music perfectly captures the mood of each scene.
Think about that iconic main theme.
Oh, yeah.
From the original God of War.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It's driving. It completely embodies Kratos' rage and thirst for vengeance.
It gets your adrenaline pumping instantly.
Yeah.
But then you have tracks like The Dragon from the 2018 game, which has this hauntingly beautiful melody. It evokes this sense of wonder and awe, perfectly capturing the majesty of the Norse world.
And it's used so effectively to emphasize those key narrative moments.
It is.
Like the emotional swells during those tender scenes between Kratos and Atreus, or the pounding drums during intense combat sequences.
The music adds so much depth to those moments. It amplifies the emotions.
It does.
It makes them more impactful.
It's almost like the soundtrack is another character.
Totally.
Shaping your experience and connection to the story.
And the composers do a masterful job of weaving those traditional orchestral elements with modern and experimental sounds, creating this truly unique sonic experience.
So to our listener, I think it's worth paying attention to the music.
It is.
When playing God of War.
Yes.
It's more than just background noise.
It's not just background noise.
It's a critical part of what makes this series so immersive and powerful.
Well said. And it reinforces that even in those action-packed moments, there's always room for beauty and emotion.
So we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
You know, from those epic environments to that incredible score to the evolution of Kratos himself. But one thing that review keeps coming back to is the cultural impact of the God of War series as a whole.
And it's undeniable. It's a series that has sparked so many conversations about mythology, fatherhood, and the very nature of what a video game can be.
The review calls Kratos a gaming icon. And I'd have to agree.
He is.
But it's more than just being a recognizable character, What do you think makes him so iconic?
I think it's the depth of his journey. You know, he started as this embodiment of rage, the classic angry video game protagonist. But he's evolved into something much more complex and relatable. He's a father. He's flawed. He's battling his inner demons. And that resonates with players in a way that few characters do.
It's like he's broken free from that one-dimensional archetype. Which is not an easy thing to do.
It's not.
Especially in a genre that's often associated with more straightforward heroes.
And I think the series has also had a huge impact on how we view mythology in games. You know, it's not just window dressing anymore. It's woven into the very fabric of the narrative.
Absolutely. The God of War series has introduced a whole new generation to the richness of Greek and Norse mythology.
It has, and it's done it in a way that feels respectful, but also fresh and engaging. You know, it's sparked so many...
I've seen those conversations online.
Oh, yeah.
Some people feel like the games take too many liberties. While others love the unique spin on those classic tales.
It's proof that the series has struck a chord. That it's made people think about these ancient stories in new ways.
Totally. And for some, it's been a gateway to explore mythology further.
Absolutely, which is fantastic.
Which is awesome. It shows the power of games to not just entertain, but to educate and inspire a genuine curiosity in other subjects.
I completely agree. And I think beyond mythology, the God of War series has also pushed the boundaries of what video games can be as a storytelling medium. You know, it's proven that games can handle complex themes, nuanced characters, and deliver those gut-wrenching emotional moments just as effectively as any other art form.
And that impact is evident in the games that have come after.
It is.
So many developers have clearly been inspired by the combat mechanics, the environmental storytelling, that cinematic presentation that God of War is known for.
It's set a new standard for the action-adventure genre, showing that you can have incredible action and a compelling narrative, and they can work together beautifully.
It's not an either situation.
It's not.
You can have both.
You can.
And that's something that the God of War series has demonstrated time and time again.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways for you, the listener? What can we learn from the world of Kratos? And the impact this series has had?
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is that change is always possible. You know, Kratos' journey from rage-filled warrior to a father seeking redemption is a testament to that.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we all have the potential for growth.
That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it also underscores what we've been saying about games as a medium.
Right.
God of War proves that video games can be more than just entertainment.
They can be.
They can challenge us, make us think, make us feel deeply.
Exactly. They can explore those complex human experiences just as effectively as any other form of storytelling.
And finally, I think the series encourages us to engage with mythology and storytelling in general.
It does.
You know, these ancient tales, whether Greek or Norse or from any other culture, have endured for a reason. They speak to universal truths about humanity.
Right.
About our struggles, our desires, our search for meaning.
Absolutely.
And the God of War series has reminded us of that in a truly unforgettable way.
Well said.
So to our listener, the next time you pick up a controller, remember the lessons of Kratos.
Yes.
Embrace the power of storytelling. Challenge yourself to grow.
Right.
And never underestimate the impact
a
well-crafted game can have.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
This has been a fantastic deep dive into the world of God of War.
The pleasure was all mine.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep on gaming and keep on exploring.